Hello everybody, welcome to the Analyst by Vajiram and Ravi dated 13th April 2026, where we would try to comprehensively analyze 7 articles in 2 different sections, along with your daily mains answer writing program. In the analysis part, we will first have a comprehensive discussion with respect to Dr. BR Ambedkar on the occasion of his 135th birth anniversary, which will be celebrated as Ambedkar Jayanti tomorrow on 14th April. Then, in the second article, we will have a discussion with respect to the disruption in supply of fertilizers due to the ongoing West Asian war, which poses a risk to India's food security. And then, in the prelims pointer section, we will have a discussion with respect to 5 different articles from the special perspective of your upcoming UPSC prelims exam. Coming to the very first topic of today's discussion, it is regarding Dr. BR Ambedkar. Tomorrow is his 135th birth anniversary, which is celebrated as Ambedkar Jayanti in India. So on this occasion, we will be studying about BR Ambedkar. Why it is important for us? Because it is part of GS paper 1, where you have to study about significant personalities of modern India, the people who were involved in the freedom struggle, who were involved in reforming Indian system, caste system, political system, education system, and any of them. Yeah. So before moving ahead, we should see that there was similar kind of your previous year questions which were already asked in UPSC mains. For example, Mahatma Jyotirao Phule. Regarding him, a question was asked in mains exam. Regarding Subhash Chandra Bose and Mahatma Gandhi, the difference in their approach was asked in mains exam. Similarly, the questions regarding so many of personalities have already been asked in UPSC exam. So that's why this also becomes important for us because of immense contribution and achievements made by Dr. BR Ambedkar. Now, before going to Dr. BR Ambedkar, let's go a few decades back and understand that there was a person called Jyotiba Phule who started this agitation, or you can say this reformist approach of uplifting the poor section of the society or the Dalits. Basically, he went in front of the Hunter Commission and asked them to provide some kind of scholarship for students who are bright but from the backward community, the Dalits, who are not given enough opportunities to study in a good institution. So based upon his efforts and other people's contribution, finally a small young boy got admission in Elphinstone College of Bombay. And this young guy was none other than Dr. BR Ambedkar. So it was Jyotiba Phule who stood and walked, because of which BR Ambedkar could run. Clear? So now going ahead with Dr. BR Ambedkar, let's see that BR Ambedkar, he was popularly known as Baba Saheb. Okay? He was a monumental figure in Indian history. He was the chief architect of Indian Constitution. He was the chairman of the drafting committee of Indian Constitution. So he is the main person behind who created this Indian Constitution, which is still standing as rock solid. If you compare India with the countries, neighboring countries around India, their political system is not as strong. We have seen issues in Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Nepal, everywhere. But the Indian system is still robust thanks to the people like BR Ambedkar, who stood and who made such a strong constitution. And he was not just instrumental in forming the Constitution of India, he fought for the equality and social justice of the downtrodden or the Dalit people. That's why we celebrate 14th April every year as Ambedkar Jayanti. Tomorrow is the 135th birth anniversary of BR Ambedkar. He was a social reformer, educationist, jurist, and a leader of oppressed class. He was called as champion of social justice, equality, and constitutionalism. His influence was not just Indian, he was good in Western liberal thoughts and Indian social realities. Clear? So, Ambedkar, if you look at the basic background about BR Ambedkar, he was born on 14th April 1891 in a small town in Madhya Pradesh in a Meher family, which was a Dalit family. Now, this birthplace was in Mau, which is now called Ambedkar Nagar, and it is in MP, Madhya Pradesh. He got education from University of Mumbai through the scholarship provided by Maharaja of Baroda. And then he went to Columbia University in New York, London School of Economics. So he studied from some of the best institutions throughout the world. This is his picture when he was in the Columbia University in New York. Finally, he died in 1956 on 6th December. He was nicknamed as Baba Saheb. What is his epithets? Epithets means people used to call him with these phrases. He was the father of Indian Constitution. He was a champion of Dalits and modern Manu. And what were his prominent achievements largely in political scenario? He was the chairman of the drafting committee. He was the first law minister of independent India. First law minister of India. He was also the labor minister in Viceroy's Executive Council from 1942 to 46. Basically, when Lilithgo was the Viceroy of India, he appointed BR Ambedkar as the labor minister. Later, he continued under the Viceroyship of Wavell. Clear? So this was some of the basic background regarding BR Ambedkar. Now we'll see different dimensions of BR Ambedkar's life. His life as a politician, his life as a social reformer, his life as an educationist, all those things. So first we'll see his life as a social reformer. What all he did and what are the prominent achievements. He stood for a fight against the caste system. He strongly opposed the Brahmanical hierarchy. The Brahmanical hierarchy where the entire Varn system. He opposed the Varn system by saying that the hierarchical approach where you have Brahmins at the top, then Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra, this should be completely annihilated. They should be completely removed from the society. His famous works like Annihilation of Caste and Who Were the Shudras, these are the books written by B.R. Ambedkar. And the key idea was that caste is equal to graded inequality. That inequality on different levels is shown by the caste system. The reforms, he said the reforms must be structural and not symbolic. Basically, he was opposing Mahatma Gandhi when he said that Mahatma Gandhi who wanted to change the system through your inner self. And B.R. Ambedkar said that no, this is just symbolic. We cannot bring out changes like this. It has to be structural, which can be seen on the ground, not just symbolic. He led the Mahad Satyagraha in 1927, where it was regarding right of water, where a bunch of Dalit people, they went to a public water tank and they pulled out water from that tank. Earlier, these Dalits were not allowed to take water from those public water tanks. They used to go to far off places and fetch water from there. They had their separate tanks. Clear? But B.R. Ambedkar in Mahad, in Maharashtra, he went along with other Dalits in that place and they fetched the water from the water tank. Then there was Kalaram temple movement. Although there were many temple movements which were started by B.R. Ambedkar, Kalaram was one of them, which was started in Nasik in 1930, where the Dalits who were not allowed a temple entry, he made sure that they guys reach within the inside the temple and nobody stops them. And then burning of Manusmriti. Basically, he said that Manusmriti is the root cause which talks about this Varn system and which has led to the inequality within the society. Now, the significance was that he asserted the civil rights and dignity of the depressed Dalit class. So, he made them self-believe. Now, for Dalit empowerment, he went for political representation. He said that education is a tool for the liberation of the Dalit class. And basically, the organizations started by B.R. Ambedkar are important for us. They can be asked in both your prelims and mains. First is your Bahishkrit Hitkarini Sabha in 1924. Basically, this organization, it promoted education and socio-economic upliftment of the poor Dalit people. The motto of this organization was educate, agitate and organize. Basically, you educate yourself first of all, get knowledge, be capable so that you can agitate against any oppressor and organize yourself into organizations so that you can have a collective voice. Clear? So, this was Bahishkrit Hitkarini Sabha in 1924. This is important. Then he formed Independent Labour Party in 1936 for the rights and welfare of not just Dalits but also the working class. This Independent Labour Party was later transformed into Scheduled Caste Federation in 1942. Scheduled Caste Federation. So these are the three most important organizations started by B.R. Ambedkar. First is Bahishkrit Hitkarini Sabha, then Independent Labour Party and the Scheduled Caste Federation, focusing on representing Dalits politically and securing their civil rights. Clear? Apart from this, there were some of the newspapers started by B.R. Ambedkar for propagation of his idea so that this idea can reach to maximum number of people. They were Mook Nayak, which is in English called Leader of the Silent in 1920, which highlighted issue of untouchability. Then it was Bahishkrit Bharat in 1927 and Janta in 1930. So these were the three famous weekly or you can say periodic newspapers which were started by B.R. Ambedkar. These are most of the things, works which B.R. Ambedkar did for the upliftment of the Dalits. Apart from this, we can have a look at the difference of opinion between B.R. Ambedkar and Mahatma Gandhi. Now, with regarding to caste system, B.R. Ambedkar wanted total annihilation of caste. Total annihilation means complete destruction. There should not be any reform. They should be completely removed from the society. Whereas Mahatma Gandhi wanted to reform the system by removing untouchability. So you now understand the difference between reform and annihilation. Gandhiji was in favor of one system. He said that yes, one system has some problems, but we can reform it. It is an integral part of our society. But BR Ambedkar said no, caste system should not be included in the society at all. Then Ambedkar said that he emphasized on the method of constitutionalism and legal rights. This was the method of Ambedkar, that it can be done through constitutionalism and legal rights. Whereas Mahatma Gandhi believed that the moral reforms and change of heart, which he called as satyagraha, can be the approach to change this thing. See, it's not as if one person is right and other is wrong here. It's just the difference in approach. Both wanted to remove this untouchability and the oppression of the Dalit people, but their methods were different. Gandhiji had a more, you can say, long-lasting method where if the change in heart is there, if the moral upliftment of people is there, they do not believe in untouchability and distinction based on caste in their heart, it will lead to a better, more moral society, more ethical society. However, if it is forcefully removed just by law, that people may by law they can understand this thing, that this distinction between caste is removed, but they will have hard feelings in their heart, which will someday get manifested in some kind of violence or something else. So it was only the difference in methods. However, both wanted to remove the evil things within the caste system. Then with respect to the village, Ambedkar called village a sink of localism and a den of ignorance. Basically, at village level, the caste system was most prevalent, where the higher caste used to live at the center and the lower class, they used to reside outside the village. They were not allowed to take water from the village ponds or wells. They were not allowed to enter the temples of the villages. Whereas Gandhiji believed that India lives in her villages, the idea of Gram Swaraj, that you can reform a village and then remove the evil things. Regarding modernity, Ambedkar supported industrialization and urbanization, whereas Gandhiji favored a decentralized cottage industry based economy. Basically, the third tier of governance, the decentralized system, for example, right now the Panchayati Raj system was the one which was favored by Mahatma Gandhi. But Ambedkar was of the belief, he basically had Western influence. He was of the belief that we should focus on industrialization and urbanization for our development. Clear? So for Ambedkar, caste is not a physical barrier, but a notion or a state of mind. Hence, intermarriage and interdining alone would not annihilate caste. He urged to destroy the belief in the sanctity of the Shastras, which legitimize the Varn and caste order. Basically, he said that it is Shastras who have legitimized, our old Shastras have legitimized the Varn system and caste system. That has to be removed from the society. To be specific, Ambedkar condemned the religion of rules, not the religion of principles. This was basically the ideology of BR Ambedkar. Okay, we have seen the difference between the ideology of BR Ambedkar and Mahatma Gandhi. Now we'll see Ambedkar's political thoughts. What was he thinking as a political leader? He also served as the first labor minister in the Viceroy Executive Council. He was also the first law minister in India. So he was a believer of social democracy. Basically, political democracy is meaningless without social and economic democracy. That means political democracy is as good only if you have social democracy. That means you cannot just have equal right in voting for political representation. You should also have equal right in other aspects of life in society. His ideas were based on liberty, equality, and fraternity, which we borrowed from the French Constitution. Then he participated in the roundtable conferences where his advocacy led to inclusion of separate electorate for Dalits in the form of communal award of 1932. Basically, B.R. Ambedkar was the representative of Dalit people in all the three roundtable conferences. Because of his efforts, the British passed the communal award, which said that the Dalit people will have a separate electorate. That means they will vote only for the representatives, only for their representatives. That means completely separate voting will happen for the Dalit people, and there will be some seats which will be for the Dalits, where only Dalits will vote and they will get representation in the parliament. However, he was a critique of Congress and specifically Gandhiji. There were many differences with Gandhi, as we have already seen. There were a major issue came in the form of separate electorate issue, where after this communal award, Mahatma Gandhi, who was in jail, he sat on a fast. He sat on a fast, and their approach to caste reform was different. And because of this fasting of Mahatma Gandhi, a lot of leaders went to B.R. Ambedkar and they said that, see, if something happens to Mahatma Gandhi, if he dies because of this hunger strike, and so there will be large-scale repercussions because of this. People will be agitated because of this, and they might start attacking the Dalit people in frustration. So BR Ambedkar, he went for a pact, and Madan Mohan Malviya, basically, he signed the Pune Pact as a representative of Mahatma Gandhi, and BR Ambedkar as a representative of Dalit people. They signed the pact in which a compromise was made where reserve seats were included in the electoral system instead of separate electorate. Basically, how we have reserve seats right now, that there are certain seats which are reserved for SC/ST candidates where only those candidates can stand and everybody will vote, but the finally elected person will be from the reserved candidature. Clear? So this reserved seats both at the center and the provincial level were made by this Pune Pact. So this is also an important development of Pune Pact in the year. It was in 1932. So this was a picture where M.R. Jayakar, Tej Bahadur Sapru and Ambedkar at Yerwada Jail, where Mahatma Gandhi was staying in Pune on 24 September 1932, that day Pune Pact was signed. Clear? He also advocated for minority rights. Basically, he asked for the safeguards of SC/ST community and constitutional protection in the form of reservations. On September 30, 1956, he announced the establishment of Republican Party of India in September 1956, intended to replace the Scheduled Caste Federation with a broader political platform. See, first he formed the Independent Labour Party in 1936. Then it was transformed into Scheduled Caste Federation in 1942. Then in 1956, it was transformed into Republican Party of India. However, just in 3 months' time, this Dr. BR Ambedkar died because of illness. This party could not get whatever status he wanted. Before this party becomes a mature party, BR Ambedkar died. Clear? So now we see BR Ambedkar as the chairman of drafting committee. Basically, he was the father of Indian constitution. His role in constitution making, basically chairman as drafting committee, he synthesized the Government of India Act and the Western democratic models. That means he picked up whatever good he thought in the Government of India Act 1935 and the Western different constitution of the Western world. Basically, he synthesized different things. हर जगह से कुछ अच्छा उठाया and he made the Indian constitution. Clear? And he was never ashamed to say that yes, we have copied some things, we have implemented the good things by copying from others, and we you can say modernized them or modified them as per the Indian needs. Clear? His key contribution was in fundamental rights, where he talked about equality before law, which is seen in Article 14, then removal of untouchability under Article 17, directive principles in the form of welfare state vision. The directive principles, all DPSP, they collectively represent the welfare state vision, that what a state should do for its citizens. Then he talked about federalism with strong center to ensure unity of India, so that the disintegration of India does not happen as it was thought by the Britishers, that once they leave India, India will see the Balkanization. Balkanization means breaking of country into small parts, as the Balkan countries in the Europe faced. And he was also a strong proponent of constitutional morality. The key concepts include here respect for procedure, institutions, and value. Basically, he was a true constitutional man. He believed in constitutionalism, the values of constitution, the instruction, the institutions which have been created from right after independence, they are standing tall till now, which basically have led India to become to get on a good path of economic development, which our neighbors are not able to. Then safeguard for the marginalized. As a chairman of drafting committee, he put reservation in legislature, jobs, and education. Clear? So this was his role as a chairman of drafting committee. Then we'll see Ambedkar as an economist. Basically, his economic idea was state socialism. State socialism means that the major institutions, or you can say major industries, should be in the control of government, so that everybody can have equal distribution of resources within the people, so that the rich does not become rich and poor does not become poor. So government should control the major industries and they should ensure equitable distribution. So he was also in the favor of industrialization and modernization. He was in the favor of land reforms, although land reforms were not very well implemented in India. One of the major works done by him was The Problem of the Rupee. This book was written by BR Ambedkar, which highlighted the economic issues India was facing under the British rule. His contributions include the creation of Reserve Bank of India. He was instrumental in the forming of Reserve Bank of India. Basically, in 1925, he presented his views to the Royal Commission on Indian Currency and Finance. This Royal Commission on Indian Currency and Finance is also called Hilton Young Commission, wherein he argued for the establishment of a central banking system of India. This central banking system later formed in the form of RBI. Fine. And he worked for labor welfare, where he talked about minimum wages of the labor class and their limited working hours, basically from 8 to 10 or 12, whatever, but there should be a minimum maximum working hours, otherwise they will be exploited. And he talked about social security of the labor class. Clear? These were his reforms as an, or his work as an economist. So, and now we'll finally see Ambedkar's religious philosophy, how he believed religiously. He was a critique of Hinduism because caste-based system was core to the Hinduism concept. He basically saw caste as an inherent in Hindu social order. So he was converted to Buddhism in 1956, just before his death. Basically, he adopted Buddhism, and the reasons he gave is that Buddhism promoted equality among all the people. There was no caste system in Buddhism. Buddhism talked about rationality of human being and their work. Buddhism talked about social justice based upon equality of all the humans. In 1935, basically Ambedkar said at a provincial conference of depressed class in Yevla, Nasik, Ambedkar said, or he declared, that I was born in Hinduism, but I will not die as a Hindu. And he did exactly what he said. Till his death, he tried to reform the religion. He tried so that whatever bad things are there in our religion, he can remove that. But finally, when he was at his deathbed, he saw that he could not reform the entire religion. He thought, now it's the time so that I can convert to a different religion. On October 14, 1956 in Nagpur, he publicly converted to Buddhism along with around 5 lakh of his followers in a mass ceremony. Clear? He also authored the book, The Buddha and His Dham. The Buddha and His Dham is written by BR Ambedkar. Clear? So this was his idea on religion, Hinduism. So what are the contemporary relevance of BR Ambedkar? See, social justice. He led for the reservation debates. The caste discrimination, but still it persists in the society. There are people who are against the caste system. There are people who are in favor of caste system. There are debates around reservation. The depressed class, still every community has not got the benefit of reservation. They are still not uplifted. So still we have these issues in the society. The constitutional values like rule of law and institutional integrity, though it has been maintained to a larger extent, but in the recent times we have seen a lot of allegations on institutions, be it CBI, be it Election Commission or whatever. So these institutions have somewhat role of BR Ambedkar, who put efforts to establish these institutions. In democracy, rising majoritarianism versus constitutional morality. These things are also going on. Some people who are in majority, they always try to control the other people. So we have these debates. We have economic inequality within India, where inclusive growth debates are going on. We know that different reports come where top 1% of people hold majority of the wealth, top 10% hold around three-fourths of the entire wealth of country. So we have debates regarding income inequality. Then regarding gender justice, there are ongoing relevance of Hindu Code Bill principles. There are debates around UCC. A lot of debates are happening around UCC. BR Ambedkar was in favor of UCC. Basically, he said UCC will promote gender justice and put the women on the equal pedestal to the men. So BR Ambedkar was not merely the architect of the constitution, but a visionary who sought the transformation of Indian society from a hierarchical order to an egalitarian democracy where everybody will be equal, irrespective of their caste, irrespective of the place where they are born. So you can use these kind of statements in the conclusion of your mains answer. Understood? So this was regarding BR Ambedkar. Now you can try this mains practice question where you can discuss BR Ambedkar's critique of caste system and its relevance in contemporary India. Make sure you write this answer. Coming to the second topic of today's discussion, it is regarding the ongoing West Asian conflict, which poses a significant risk to the India's food security. How? By disrupting the supply of essential fertilizers to India. See, India is one of the top consumers of fertilizers, just after China. But we are majorly dependent on import for these fertilizers. Although we do produce a lot of fertilizers, but some are imported from outside directly, and most of the feedstock, or you can say the input for these fertilizers, are also imported, which are domestically manufactured. So the entire supply chain crisis is there. We are not able to produce enough fertilizers, which might lead to food security. Now see, some of you can argue that okay, we can grow food naturally, Why can't we switch to natural farming? It is good for India. But Sri Lanka did the same thing. In an overnight scenario, they switched entirely from chemical or you can synthetic fertilizers to organic farming. The entire system collapsed there. They faced severe food security issues. Why? Because the soil, the plant system, the crops, they are adapted to these fertilizers. And suddenly, if you switch to natural farming, the plants are not capable of yielding the same result, same output through natural farming. So you have to gradually transform from these chemical-based fertilizers to natural farming. It cannot be done abruptly overnight. Clear? So it is part of GS paper 3, which talks about major crop and cropping pattern and infrastructure of energy, where energy is crucial for production of fertilizers. Now in this, we will see the article says that what lessons do India learn from this war and the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict. Russia-Ukraine area is also an essential supplier to India for the inputs of fertilizers. Now we have to ensure our food security. How? This food security cannot be achieved unless India secures the fertilizer supplies. Natural farming, though desirable as a niche market, cannot feed India. The natural farming is not sufficient. The yield will reduce very much at the first instance. India's import dependence on chemical fertilizers, including their feedstock, is to the tune of 70%. But whatever we produce at home also depends upon imported gas to the tune of almost 85%. Basically, most of the fertilizer production happens through natural gas, which we import from countries like Qatar. But that entire supply chain is now been stopped. It has been halted. So in the last 40 days of war, the global urea prices have gone up almost by 65%. The urea prices, which is the main, you can say, fertilizer. In fact, the LNG gas, its price has also increased up to 63%. So the input is also increasing. The final product will obviously increase. So, and this is not just the issue of price. In fact, we are not even getting enough supplies from the state of Hormuz. Realizing this, the cabinet has already approved a higher subsidy on urea. So government said that okay, the price will increase, the cost of production will increase, so we will compensate it by providing more subsidy. We will not allow the burden to go on to the farmers. This is one of the good things which the government has done, because the farmers are the poor people. They cannot afford this much higher price of fertilizers. Now West Asian crisis could hit farmers. 40% of India's urea and phosphatic fertilizers come from West Asia. The war risk insurance premium has gone up by 1000%. What does it mean? Just like how we do insurance for cars and bikes, similarly the ships which carry cargo from one country to another, they also undergo insurance policies. So because the risk is high, the chances of these ships getting stuck there or hitting by a missile, they were high. So the insurance company said that they are increasing the premium for the risk by up to 1000%. So it virtually collapses the trade. So India imports 2 million tons of fertilizers every month. 100% of import dependency of potash MOP fertilizer. Urea prices up more than 33%, and Kharif sowing begins in June, which will see this issue for the first time. Now 3 Indian fertilizer plants, they cut urea output as Qatar LNG supply tightens. Now fertilizer plants are not able to produce enough fertilizers because they are not getting the input. Clear? So higher fertilizer cost means that lower yield and higher food prices. It will also lead to higher inflation. And food inflation is the major driver of the overall inflation within our country. Now if you see how much India is dependent on fertilizer import, if you see in the nitrogen or urea based import, around 25% of the demand is met by imports. And Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, all of them, they send the supply through Strait of Hormuz, which is right now has been blocked. Not only blocked by Iran right now, though even Trump is saying that we will block the entire area for any ship movement. In fact, Iran, till now, they have exempted the ships coming from India, China, Russia to pass safely through this passage. They will not be charging any toll tax from us. But now Trump said that we will not allow any country ship to pass by. Let's see how long it sustains. Then phosphatic urea, which is also called DAP, which is a famous one. 50 to 60% of the demand is met through imports, largely from Saudi Arabia, Morocco. Supplies are affected by this conflict. Similarly, your potassic fertilizers, mainly in the form of MOP, near total dependence on imports from 95 to 100%. Saudi Arabia, Russia, Canada. Supplier concentration in sensitive regions. Russia is also undergoing a war. So their war has not been done. It's not over. It's still going on. So we are facing issues from there also. And then raw material and different feedstock. Imports include 95% of the phosphate rocks and significant volume of LNG. Now LNG is the primary feedstock for domestic urea production, which we are not getting. Clear? So this is the Indian dependency on imported fertilizers and their feedstock. Now, what is the current regulatory framework? What we have to study now in this fertilizer sector? We know the current scenario. We also have to know about the background, how the fertilizer sector in India works, how it is regulated by the government, what are the pros and cons of this, and what can be done ahead. What are the basically government steps, what government has already done, what more can be done. Clear? So the current regulatory framework includes statutory pricing, means the center fixes a uniform urea MRP, that is right now 242 kg for a 45 kg bag. 242 per 45 kg bag. This excludes neem coating and taxes. So government has fixed the price. However high the input cost or the raw material cost goes, the farmer has to pay this price. Whatever extra cost of production, it will be burned by the government, as the government has already said that we are increasing the subsidy on these fertilizers. Then there is administrative oversight. For example, under NBS, nutrient based subsidy scheme, government ensures reasonable MRP for phosphoric and potassium fertilizers. See, basically your NPK are the famous fertilizers most commonly used: nitrogen based, phosphorus based, and potassium based. So nitrogen based is a fixed pricing model, and phosphorus and potassium based fertilizers, they are worked on a this nutrient based subsidy. Basically whatever nutrients are used in 1 kg of these fertilizer production, government compensates the producer in that particular manner. That however nutrients you put in, per nutrient there is a fixed price, you will get price based upon that. Then logistic command, the fertilizer movement control order of 1973, it enables the Department of Fertilizer to allocate rail racks and ensure state-wise supply. Now it is also determined by the government that fertilizer reaches every state. Okay? This is not a free market mechanism. It is highly regulated. Then you have branding uniformity. Pradhan Mantri Bharatiya Jan Urvarak Pariyojana. It mandates single Bharat brand for all subsidized fertilizer. Now this is your single Bharat brand fertilizer. See, Bharatiya Jan Urvarak Pariyojana talks about Bharat Urea. This is Bharat brand. Basically, there were different brands for fertilizers. Now, sometimes farmers stick to one particular brand and they do not want to take urea of other brand or any fertilizer of other brand. So there was creating demand supply issue. One brand was too much in demand. They were not able to supply enough quantity, and other brands which are having same properties, same features, but people, because of some misconception or some prejudice, they were not taking that. So to remove this issue, now all the fertilizers by any company, whichever produces, they will sell it by just one name, Bharat Urea. Clear? Then they have digital accountability in the form of DBT release, a full subsidy only after Aadhaar authentication at post sales, place of sales. Clear? Now what they does is, basically whenever farmer purchases these ureas, they give their Aadhaar number, they give their Kisan credit card number, and then it is registered on a digital device. Only after that the government releases subsidy per kg or per bag to the company. So it is highly regulated. Now what are the arguments in favor and against this fertilizer control order? Now it inflation insulation to the farmers. Fixed urea price protect farmers from global input volatility. Right now what is happening? So basically government insulates the farmer from the upcoming inflation, and not only farmers, it insulates the end consumers also. Then equitable distribution. Central allocation ensures supply in remote areas through their own rail racks. They ensure that the fertilizer reaches every place. Then anti-tagging safeguards. It prevents forced bundling of costly fertilizers with urea. Basically what happened, some companies, what they did, they used to forcefully sell a particular other fertilizer along with urea. It's like they say that we can only sell this product in a bundle, in a package. If you have to take this, you have to take the other product also. So they used to sell higher priced product along with that. So government has right now banned this forced tagging or selling. Then leakage reduction, Aadhaar point of sale curbs, diversion to industrial use. Basically what happened, this subsidized urea also has industrial applications. People used to take the subsidized urea and send it to industries at a higher price, sell it to the industries. So to curb this, neem coating urea was brought out. Yeah. So this government control over the fertilizers, they also help in reducing this diversion or black marketing of urea. Then quality standardization is met. Bharat branding reduces spurious fertilizers. These are the arguments why government control is there over the fertilizer sector. Now there are some issues, some arguments against this fertilizer control, that nutrient imbalance has been seen. Excess urea use distorts NPK ratio. See, NPK ratio should be, your NPK ratio should be, nitrogen should be 4 in quantity, 4 units, your phosphorus should be 2 and potassium should be 1. But however, this ratio is disturbed. It is 11, 4 and 1. So both N and P are used in a higher proportion, which distorts the quality of soil, or you can say it hampers the higher yield. Now, innovation suppression. Restrictions discourage advanced fertilizer R&D. Already we are having low R&D in India. If you will not incentivize the innovation, why will somebody else do more innovation in this field if they cannot get higher price? Then brand dilution. Bharat branding reduces product differentiation. There might be some companies which are producing higher quantity, you can say higher quality of fertilizers, but now why will they produce higher quality of fertilizer now if they are not getting a premium, if they have to sell with the same name, just like another company which might be producing a lower quality product? So this will again curb the innovation. There are regulatory uncertainty, there are sudden rules change which deter private investment. This is not only for fertilizer sector but the entire country. This government, they keeps on changing rules very frequently. Any foreign investor who is coming with capital in India, they do not like frequent changes. They want a stability in regime and stability in the taxation system so that they can plan according to it. So there is also a liquidity crunch, delayed subsidy payments by the government to the companies. They also stay in their working capital. Now the company is dependent on the subsidy. They are counting on the subsidy which they will receive from the government. When the government delays it, so their entire system disrupts because of it. So these are some of the arguments against fertilizer control by the government. Now, what are the various government initiatives which government has taken in the fertilizer sector, basically to improve the working of the fertilizer sector? The first is nutrient subsidy. We have already talked about nutrient-based subsidy, where the scheme provides fixed support for the P and K fertilizers, the phosphorus and potassium fertilizers, promoting balanced nutrient use. We have already seen that nitrogen or urea is used in a higher proportion, so we have to reduce that and increase P and K, specifically K. Now this is applicable to 22 different fertilizers other than urea. Urea is not included within this. Urea works on the older model where you have a fixed price per bag. Clear? Then you have Pradhan Mantri Bharatiya Jan Urvarak Pariyojana, or it is also called One Nation One Fertilizer Scheme. Under this you have standardized branding called Bharat branding of urea, or any fertilizer which we have already seen. This is to promote transparency and quality. Then you have nano fertilizers. Nano fertilizers like this have been produced by government companies like IFFCO, where what IFFCO claims is that you can use just half liter of bottle instead of entire 45 kg bag. The exact work which can be done by the 45 kg bag, it can be replicated by this half liter of bottle, this nano urea bottle. What this bottle does is, if you spray it on the crops, the crops, because this nano urea or nano fertilizer, it is in very small nano form, 10 raised to power minus 9 meters. In such a small microscopic particles of this urea, they are directly uptaken by the plant through stomata openings. Basically, normally how any crop or plant takes a fertilizers, they take it through soil and roots. The roots then transfer these nutrients to the entire body. But in nano urea's case or any nano fertilizer case, they are sprayed on the plant leaves. There are stomata openings like this on plant leaves. So when this nano urea falls on this, they go into the stomata opening and they reach within the plant body. So the efficiency of fertilizer increases in this case, and this small bottle can replace the entire bag. However, there are also contrasting reports regarding the efficacy of this nano urea. There are some reports which says that the yield is not as good as the normal conventional bags. So there are digital platforms like integrated fertilizer management system and mobile fertilizer management system which track fertilizer supply and enable real-time access to farmers. Basically, the subsidy is also given after it has been integrated into the system. The farmer goes to any shop for purchase. There they have point of sales machine. In that machine, you have to feed the Aadhaar number and Kisan Credit Card numbers of farmers. Then only you will get a product and the subsidies will be given. This is to make sure that black marketing or cross-selling of fertilizers to industries does not happen. Then PM Pranam scheme, which was started in 2023, it aimed at reducing the use of chemical fertilizers and encouraging balanced nutrient application. Okay? Basically, it promotes organic farming or natural farming, but it will be done slowly in a phased manner. Then your soil health card, which is running from a long time, it is given to all farmers at an interval of 2 years. Basically, I think 12 to 14 different parameters are just within your soil. You can take your soil sample to any soil testing laboratory. They will test your soil. They will make a soil health card for your soil, and that health card will tell what nutrients are required in your soil. So you can judicially use the nutrients. You do not use excessively any particular nutrient. Then there are diversification of imports. There are agreements with Russia, Canada, Morocco to import fertilizers. This is what government is doing regarding fertilizer sector. Now, however, the challenges still persist in the fertilizer sector, like structural issues. There is still high import dependency, which we have already seen. You have energy intensive production. We need innovation in the production methods also. You have subsidy burden in the form of fiscal stress. The subsidy can become as high as 2 lakh crore rupees in 1 year. It can go as high as 2 lakh crore fertilizer subsidy. So it creates a fiscal burden over the government. Then you have inefficient targeting. That means still black marketing happens. Still the fertilizer, they are diverted to industrial use. Your imbalanced fertilizer use, overuse of urea and NPK imbalance. We have seen it is around 11, 4 and 1 in this ratio. It should be 4:2:1. This should be the ideal ratio of fertilizer use. Then it leads to overuse of fertilizer, leads to soil degradation. It leads to water pollution. The fertilizer, they can leach into the groundwater, or they can run away into any nearby lake, leading to eutrophication and algal bloom, dying of lakes or biodiversity in the lake. Clear? Greenhouse gas are also emitted in the process of making fertilizers and also in the application. Then you have government issue in the form of leakage. We have seen on black marketing. We have already seen this. So what can be done now? What will be the way forward to make sure we do not face any such issue in India and we do not face any food insecurity? We have to reduce import dependence. This should be the last major crisis, energy crisis, which India is facing. If still India does not learn, so it will be entirely our fault. It will not be, then we cannot blame Trump later on. Clear? We have to produce domestically, and we have to rely on alternate sources, not only for the inputs but also on the farming methods like organic and natural farming. We have to promote balanced fertilization. Awareness and soil health cards have to be improved. In fact, a majority of the farmers still do not have soil health card. They do not know what kind of fertilizers are required by their soil. Clear? So technological innovation in the form of nano fertilizers, precision agriculture. Precision agriculture requires sensors, automated systems, which exactly give only that much fertilizer, water and other nutrients to the plants which is required. They do not give any excess nutrient. Then you have rationalized subsidy. It should shift towards direct income support. Basically, there are suggestions that PM Kisan scheme and subsidy, fertilizer subsidy, should be linked together. Instead of giving to the companies, it should be directly given to the farmers on a per acre basis. Okay, how you can link subsidy? By linking PM Kisan scheme, where you give 6,000 rupees to every farmer in 3 different installments. You link with this direct benefit transfer of fertilizers. Let's say, for example, instead of 6,000 you give 12,000, but then fertilizers will be sold at the market price as determined by market demand and supply. That money which is given to the farmer, they can use that money to buy fertilizers in the normal market. And better targeting needs to be done. Basically, black marketing has to be stopped. We have to focus on sustainable agriculture in the form of organic farming and bio-based fertilizers, largely or compost and other biomass-based products. Then we have to maintain strategic reserves to maintain the buffer stock for fertilizers. Just like we have strategic reserves for oil, we need to have strategic reserves for fertilizers also, so that if this kind of situation right now we are going through comes, we do not face any issue in future. Clear? So the fertilizer sector in India lies at the intersection of food security, fiscal sustainability and geopolitical stability. A balanced approach involves self-reliance on production, diversification of sources, subsidy reforms in the form of direct benefit transfer, and sustainable practices in the form of natural farming. This is essential to ensure long-term reliance of Indian agriculture. So you can use these type of statements in the conclusion. Fine. So now your responsibility is to write answer regarding discuss the challenges faced by the fertilizer sector in India. How have recent geopolitical disruptions they have exacerbated this issue? Clear? Basically, how these challenges they have led to even more of issues in this sector. Now coming to the prelims pointer section, the first topic is regarding China, and it's giving fictitious names to the Indian territories which China controls right now. basically India and China are having disputes in the eastern and western sector of India. The eastern sector is the one around Arunachal Pradesh, where we have debates, or you can say China has claimed that Arunachal Pradesh is part of South Tibet. But however, Arunachal Pradesh is an integral part of Indian territory. Similarly, in the western sector, again we have disputes regarding territorial distribution, where India claims this part, Aksai Chin, as Indian territory, whereas China claims this part as their territory. In this scenario, we will see regarding Aksai Chin, the area, the disputed regions along that area, and what can be important for our prelims. So Aksai Chin is the region of high altitude cold desert in eastern Ladakh. It is claimed by India, but right now it is controlled by China. Now, if you see the map here, now this is the map. This is India's, you can say, union territory of J&K and Ladakh. Within this line is the actual line of actual control, which is administered between India and China. So the area in the left of this is held by India, and the area which is shown in the red color, it is held by China. Now what happened, this area has two different boundaries, different interpretations are there. Now there is one Johnson line, this blue line is the Johnson line, which India claims as the main boundary between India and China. This was done in agreements with the British. But there is another line which China has a perception. China says that there is a Johnson line. Here somewhere, this line of perception, or you can say this the actual around line of actual control, you have a McDonald line, the second line. This is the McDonald line. China says that this is the legitimate line between India and China. However, despite this being the McDonald line which China claims, still they control territory right up to here. This entire region up to this point, they control the territory. The Chinese troops, they used to come in this up to this place for patrolling. Clear? And this green line is the area where Indian troops used to go for patrolling from Air India. So entire dispute happened in these places, in this where the Chinese set up their tent and the Indians also in retaliation set up their tent and faced confrontations. Now, what do you have to understand? The geographical features of this Aksai Chin. This is part of Tibetan Plateau. This is extremely rigid. This is cold desert and sparsely populated. Average altitude is 4,500 to 5,500 meter height. Now this is a 38,000 square kilometer area which is completely barren. Now why dispute started? Because China constructed in 1950s, they constructed this western highway here. This is called your G219 highway. This highway connected the Xinjiang province of China with the Tibet province. Now when India came to know about this highway, we raised dispute. We raised our voice against this, which led to the Indo-China conflict of 1962. Clear? Now, what is the strategic importance? It connects Xinjiang with Tibet, as you see in the highway G219. It is critical for China's military logistics when China has to go from one province to another. The disputes arise from different boundary claims, which you have seen. The Johnson line, it is claimed by India, which is proposed in 1865, whereas the McCarthy-MacDonald line, it was proposed in 1893, which China claims. So both have contrasting claims here. Now what you have to understand in this scenario is you have to learn this thing also, that this is Pakistan occupied Kashmir, the entire green region. We consider it as part of India's Jammu and Kashmir, which is our legitimate claim, but right now it is occupied by Pakistan. One of the aims of government is that in future we want to claim this area from Pakistan. Red part is administered by China and this green part by Pakistan. The yellow part here is under India's control. This blue part also, this is the Siachen Glacier, which is held by India under the Operation Meghdut, where we captured the Siachen Glacier from the Pakistanis. This is also a strategic point where you can keep an eye over the enemies. Now within this, you can say in line of actual control, this line of actual control which separates the administered area of China and India, you have different places. You have Daulatbag Oldie point here somewhere in the north, Daulatbag Oldie, which is the highest airstrip India has. India has an airstrip there for logistic purpose. You have Deepsang Plains just here, Deepsang Plains. You have Deepsang La Pass. Then you have Patrol Point 14, where the clashes happened between India and China. Then you have this Galwan Valley here. You have Pangong So Lake here. Then you have Shock River and Shock region here. Then when you come further south, you have Damchok area, where again clashes between India and China happened. So these areas can come, they can ask you even to arrange these areas in north-south direction. Clear? So you have to be aware of these areas. And this NJ 9 9842. This is the highest point where India demarcated, where the demarcation between India and Pakistan has happened. Beyond this point, there is no demarcation, so that's why clashes were there, because this region beyond in the north of this Siachen glacier, it was not demarcated properly. The highest point of demarcation was this NJ 9842. So these issues were coming. Clear? So this is Daulat Bag Oldie, where we have the one of the highest airstrips of India, and you have Karakoram Pass above it. You should know about these things. And the Shyok River passes close to the line of actual control. Clear? So this was regarding Prince Pointer, and you must also know about the Wakhan Corridor. Wakhan Corridor connects India with the Afghanistan. This is the small territory of land which connects directly India with the Afghanistan. Clear? And this Sakshkam Valley, you should also know, this is the area north of your Siachen Glacier, and this territory is given to China by Pakistan in 1963. This territory was ceded by Pakistan to China in 1963. So right now, China holds control of this Sakshkam Valley. Fine. So moving ahead, what can be the exam traps in this particular question? This, they can say that the Aksai Chin is part of the Arunachal Pradesh. This is wrong. This is not part of Arunachal. This is part of Ladakh. Clear? It is controlled by India currently. No, China holds control over this Aksai Chin. Lies in the eastern sector. No, this is part of western sector. Eastern sector mein you have Arunachal Pradesh, and Arunachal Pradesh is separated by China through McMahon Line. That also you must know. It is fertile and densely populated. Again, this is wrong. This is a barren land, completely deserted. And dispute started in 1990s. No, dispute started in 1950s, just when China created the highway connecting Tibet and Xinjiang. Clear? So make sure to keep these points in mind. Coming to the next topic, which is regarding your economy and environment. So this is regarding oak trees. Basically, the Uttarakhand High Court, they have asked the municipal corporation of Uttarakhand basically to not cut oak trees for the construction purposes. Why it is in news? See, the Uttarakhand High Court, it recently stayed the felling of oak trees in Mussoorie for civic construction projects. It said these species provide ecosystem services like conservation of soil, water, native flora, fauna, and serve as a lifeline for local communities. Clear? They assist in watershed protection by promoting the recharge of springs. Basically, watershed protection is that whatever rainfall happens, these trees, they capture the water, they hold the water, they allow the water to percolate down into the soil and recharge the aquifers below the soil. These aquifers, when they come out from some place, they become spring and they become source of any river, lake, or pond. So these ecosystems also sustain a wide range of animals, your birds and mammals such as jays, Himalayan langur, giant flying squirrels, Asian black bear, they feed on oak trees. Now in Indian Himalayas, you have 35 different species of oaks. Out of these 35, 20 species are found in Western Himalayas, 15 species are found in Eastern Himalayas in states like Arunachal Pradesh. Now a December 2025 paper in Trees, Forest and People, it pegged the degradation of forest in Indian Himalayas region at the rate of 0.36 square kilometer every year. So this much of forest is degraded every year due to both natural calamities and anthropogenic disturbances, including developmental activities. Basically, anthropogenic activities means human-related issues, for expanding of roads, for construction of urban areas, for doing any hydroelectric project, for any defense strategic project. For all this, we are cutting trees. So every year, 0.36 hectare of forest is being degraded. Clear? So what we should know about Indian oak tree? Indian oak tree is one of the famous trees in India. It is very useful. It can be easily asked in your prelims exam. It belongs to the genus Quercus. Quercus is any, you can say, plant species which produce this type of fruits, which have a solid bearing on one side and a different structure on the other side. They basically, this fruit is produced. You must have also seen these kind of fruits in or many cartoons where squirrels feed on these fruits. So a lot of other animals also feed on these fruits. So they belong to Quercus genus of trees. Now, geographical range of these oak trees, they are found in diverse habitats and broad distribution in Northern America. They are found in Europe, Asia, and some parts of Africa also. In India, there are around 20 species in Western Himalayas and 15 in Eastern Himalayas. They generally are found between 1000 to 3500 meter height. Clear? What kind of climate they require? They are found in temperate zones where they can endure cold winters and warm summers. They require well-drained soil, is an essential for oak. They can tolerate different soil types, including sandy, loamy, and clay. Only condition is that it should be well drained. That means they should have enough water within them. Clear? So this is your oak tree. Now, what more we need to know? This oak tree is a deciduous tree. It is not a coniferous tree. Sometimes this can also be asked in your prelims, that oak tree is a species of coniferous forest. Coniferous are largely these cone-shaped trees. Clear? Your Christmas tree, your cypress tree, pine, cedar, juniper. These are your coniferous trees. They have needle-like structures. They're small. However, these deciduous trees, they have broad leaves. This is the major distinction. Deciduous trees have broad leaves. These coniferous trees have needle-like leaves. Clear? So oak is a deciduous tree. Oak, maple. Maple represents the China flag, which use Canadian flag. When you see the Canadian flag, the tree leaf which is made on Canadian flag is of maple tree. Then birch and willow, they are deciduous trees. Now within India, you have Banj oak, Moru oak, and Kharsu oak. These are some of the famous species of oak tree found in India. They are part of temperate broadleaf forest. Temperate we know in colder climate, and broadleaf deciduous trees which have very large leaves. What are their ecological importance? High water retention capacity. They maintain soil fertility and biodiversity. They prevent soil erosion. And by retaining that water, they also lead to watershed conservation. Now, sometimes it is compared with pine, and then it can be asked in question. Now, oak is a broadleaf, moisture conserving tree, whereas pines are needle leaf. These pines are needle leaf, more fire prone. These needle leaf trees, they release some kind of chemicals, and that's why they are more prone to forest fires. Now, what threat these oak trees are facing? They are facing basically replacement by pine forest, because pine is invading their area. They are deforestation, there are climate change, because of which the oak trees are not surviving. Then they are used in fuel wood, they are used as fodder, they are used as minor timber by the local people. That also leads to destruction of these oak tree forests. Now, what you have to keep in mind in prelims trap is that they are found mainly in desert region. No, they are found in temperate region. Clear? Temperate broadleaf trees. They belong to coniferous group. No, they belong to deciduous group. They thrive on low altitude. No, they thrive on high altitude. What is the height? From 1000 to 3500 meter. Less water retention than pine, again wrong. Only one species is found in India. There are 35 species in India. Oak are fire prone, again no, like pine. Pine are fire prone, not oak. Oak are resistant to fire to some extent, not completely. Clear? So these exam type you have to keep in mind. Coming to the next topic of today's discussion, it is regarding the special session of Parliament, which is going to start on April 16th, where the Prime Minister has urged the other opposition parties to make a consensus on the women reservation bill. Now, why this is important and what we have to learn in this, we have to know regarding the special session of Parliament. Is there any definition of special session? This is a session of Parliament. It is not part of the regular budget session, monsoon session, or winter session. The three sessions are almost by convention held in India. In India, the maximum gap between sessions cannot exceed 6 months. That means when one session ends, before the start of another session, it should not exceed 6 months time. So in 1 year, at least twice the Parliament should sit for a session. So there is no binding target, there is no binding calendar for sessions. They are largely held as per the discretion of the government. Clear? Largely, what we have seen, that there is a budget session, which is one of the longest session, which right now it starts from Jan right up to May. Then you have monsoon session, which is a relatively shorter session, June, July, August. Then you have a winter session from November to December. This is also a fairly small session. So budget session is the largest one. Normally we have these three sessions in India, but at some times, whenever required, the government can go for a special session, just like how they are going right now. Is there any constitutional basis? No specific mention of special session in the constitution. So if this is that special session is mentioned in constitution, this is wrong. Government under the Article 85, they can do summoning of Parliament and call for any session at any time under Article 85, but that is for a normal session. Special session is not mentioned. However, it is also convened under this article, Article 85. The Cabinet Committee on Parliamentary Affairs, it determines the date and number of sittings, how long the session will be, when it will start, when it will end. All is decided by the Cabinet Committee on Parliamentary Affairs. They tell the President, and then President convenes these sessions. Who summons these sessions? The President of India, on the advice of Council of Ministers. It is the responsibility of President. He convenes, he summons the Parliament together and start the session. What more you need to know? What is the purpose of these special sessions? To discuss any important or urgent national issue. They can include any legislation, debates, and commemoration. Basically, if any legislation has to be passed, again the parliament can sit for a special session and pass a law. In that, they can do this. Example is your GST launch session in 2017. Right now, I think this women reservation bill will be passed in this session if the opposition allows to. Then you have key features regarding that no fixed duration or no schedule is there for any session, let alone special session. Even the normal session, they also do not have any fixed schedule. The agenda is decided by the government, and important distinction is that it is different from joint sitting. It is not joint sitting. Joint sitting is done when there is a deadlock in both houses, Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha. Then it is managed by a joint sitting under Article 108. This is different. There is no constitutional mandatory regarding this special session. What exam traps you have to keep in mind here? That this special session is mentioned explicitly in constitution. This is wrong. Explicitly means that it is written properly. It is implicit within constitution. That is not specifically mentioned, but under Article 85 it is implicit. Can be summoned by speaker? No, it has to be summoned by president. Must be held every year? Again, no. It depends upon the discretion of the government and the need of the session. Then only for emergency situation? No, it can be held for any important discussion, not just for emergency situation. Constitution provides for fixed number of sessions. Again, this is wrong. There are normally 3 sessions, but not fixed by the constitution. Clear? And called only during constitutional crisis. Again, it is not for crisis. Whenever government needs, there is a urgency, they can bring. However, that urgency may not be equal to emergency. Urgency means कुछ जल्दी करना है. Emergency means there is a crisis. These are different things. Clear? So coming to the next preference pointer, it is regarding your environment subject, where Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana houses, they were being constructed on forest land, and government tells Supreme Court that the government basically tells Supreme Court about the safeguards and the provisions given under Forest Right Act. Basically, government in this regard, they says that the Forest Right Act talks about the rights of the tribal people, whereas the Forest Conservation Act talks about the conservation of forests. They have to be balanced. So whatever Awas Yojana homes were being created on the forest land, they were being created for the tribal community. So government says that we have to balance environment with the needs of the tribal people, so we can construct these houses. So that debate was going on. In this regard, what we have to keep in mind is Forest Rights Act. This is important for the prelims perspective. So Forest Rights Act of 2006, it is also known as Scheduled Tribes and Other Traditional Forest Dwelling Recognition of Forest Rights Act. Basically, these forest rights for whom? For tribal community living in the forest. Clear? The objective of this act is to recognize the forest rights for scheduled tribes and traditional forest dwelling communities. Basically, there are 3 kinds of rights. Your individual rights over land cultivation, that individuals who are living in that forest, those scheduled tribes, they can cultivate their own land. Then you have community rights, where minor forest produce and grazing water bodies, they are managed together by the Gram Sabha of that area. And third is community forest rights. Basically, their claim over the forest resources. Okay? So individual rights and largely your community rights, these are provided by the Forest Right Act. Then who is the authority for the implementation of this? Your Gram Sabha. Gram Sabha has a central role in implementing this Forest Right Act. They are basically empowered. They are given the powers to manage their own resources, or you can say their own customs at the local level. What are the other important features? These rights are recognized for occupying before 13th December 2005. So this act came in 2006. So 13th December was the deadline, that even if somebody has some resources, some land in forest before that, they have document, they can prove, so they will get that right. And these are rights based act. This talks about social justice and legislation. Clear? So apart from this Forest Right Act, we should know about the Forest Conservation Act of 1980. Now this Forest Conservation Act, its name was changed in 2023. Now its name is वन संरक्षण एवं संवर्धन अधिनियम. वन संरक्षण एवं संवर्धन अधिनियम, basically to protect the Forest Conservation Act. It is a regulatory and conservation focused law, where the key provisions are that prior approval of central government is required for the use of forest any non-forest purpose. Basically, this act, this Conservation Act, is to protect the forest. So government says that anything you have to do within a designated forest, if you have to change the land use pattern, you have to put in some industry or something else, you require permission of the central government. Clear? The objective is the conservation of forest. You restrict activities, your possession of forest, they are not easily given, and restrict diversion of forest land for other purposes. So the forest has to be used only for the forest purpose, only for the bare minimum sustainable activities by the tribal peoples, not for other. Now there were some amendments in 2023 where certain lands near border, near strategic areas, they were excluded from the Forest Right Act, for the Forest Conservation Act. Basically, government said that we have to create strategic points, strategic infrastructure at some places. Let's say close to the borders, we have to create some border posts or some area, let's say an airstrip or a broad road for the movement of armies in case of any conflict. So those areas are excluded from this Forest Conservation Act. Clear? So 100-kilometer radius around the borders has been excluded. Now linear projects like road defense, the provisions have been eased for these type of projects. Government can easily do them. Again, government's argument is that we have to maintain a balance between the strategic needs of India and the environment. Clear? Now what we have to keep in mind with regarding to this topic is that Forest Right Act applies only to scheduled tribes. Now this is wrong. It applies to scheduled tribes and other forest dwelling tribes. Even if some tribal area or some people who are not tribes, scheduled tribes, if still they are living in the forest, their right has to be also be ensured. Forest Right Act is implemented by district collector. Again, this is wrong. It is implemented by Gram Sabha at the local level. Now Forest Conservation Act, it allows state to approve forest diversion independently. Now this is wrong. It does not allow state to do it independently. They require permission of the central government. Both Forest Rights Act and Forest Conservation Act have same objective. Now this is wrong. One is for rights and other is for conservation. Clear? One is for rights of tribes, other is conservation of forest. Then FRA recognizes rights after 2010. Again, this is wrong. They recognize rights before 2005. Clear? So these were some of the exam types which you can face. Now moving to the last preference pointer of today's discussion, it is regarding the India-UK Free Trade Agreement, which may come into force by mid-May. Amid the ongoing West Asian crisis, the tariffs issued by Trump on India, we have few important destinations left where we have free trade agreement and we can freely trade along with those countries. So this is important with regards to your economy. Now what are free trade agreements? Basically these are agreements done by two countries where they reduce the tariff on the exported items to different countries. Now whenever we import something, let's say from UK, we charge some custom tax on them. But under this free trade agreement, we will allow them freely come into India without any customs tax so that more trade can take place between two countries. So tariff reduction happens or entire elimination of tariffs. Tariff reduction means you reduce the custom duty from 20 to 10%. But tariff elimination means it is completely eliminated, it is zero then. There is greater market access. The manufacturers in India, they can also sell their products in UK, United Kingdoms. There is trade in services, there is investment protection. That means whatever investment are being done in India by any foreign player, their investment will be protected just like any domestic person as per the law of the land. Now there are agreements on intellectual property rights. If any innovation is done, they will be granted patents that will be protected. Government cannot force them that you allow the generic version, let's say for in case of pharmaceuticals. Government cannot force somebody to give the generic version or allow generic version to float in market. Then there are rules of origin. It defines the criteria for determining the country of origin of a product. It helps in preventing third-party goods from taking advantage of the agreement. For example, if China produces some goods and then they send to India, and somebody from India then send it to UK under the free trade agreement. So rules of origin prevent this thing. They only allow goods which are made in India to be sold in UK. They will not allow a third party to produce goods and send them via India to UK and take advantage. Clear? So rules of origin have to be strictly followed in this. They also address non-tariff barriers. What are non-tariff barriers? Tariff barriers are simply where you put some custom duty. Non-tariff barriers are like quotas. That means we allow only 10,000 BMWs to come in India. That is a kind of quota. It's a kind of, you are not putting any tariff, but you are putting a restriction on in the form of non-tariff barriers. Licensing required. For example, you say that Tesla, if it has to come to India, it will have to take a license from Indian government. And then technical standards you set. For example, a car must have at least 8 airbags. These are kind of technical standards you put in. They also create a kind of non-tariff restriction on, or you can say non-tariff barrier on trade. Now, what is important in this regard is the hierarchy of different trade agreements. You must know this hierarchy. First comes the PTA, Preferential Trade Agreement. It reduces tariff on agreed number of goods. What happens in PTA? You only agree that for these some goods, we will reduce the tariff. That means on majority of goods you will have tariff, but on some goods you prefer them in that trade. That this preferential trade agreement will reduce tariff on these preferred goods. So some goods you reduce it. Let's say these are some goods, you reduce any barrier on them, but majority of goods are still having a barrier, or you can say tariffs. The next step going forward comes is the free trade agreement, where tariff is reduced on most goods. Now, in this case, what changes? Majority of goods are exempted from tariff, only few are left because of any sensitivity or something. Let's say we cannot allow easily agriculture produce to come to India. So in our free trade agreement, 98% of the goods, they are in FTA. We allow zero import duty on them. But for some sensitive products, we allow still some kind of tariff is there on them. So in PTA, only few goods are allowed in free trade. In FTA, most are allowed, few are restricted. One step forward comes the CEPA or CECA, Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, where there are additional agreements on the areas like regulatory issues, services, investment, competition, government procurement, and disputes, etc. Basically, apart from just goods, here it is only regarding goods. Now, apart from goods, you are also putting zero tariffs on services, on investment, on protection, on government procurement. Basically, what government procurement means, that government, while procuring any good, they will consider the domestic goods and the imported goods on the same parameter. They will not differentiate between them. They will not give preference to domestic goods. Clear? Then comes further one step ahead as customs union. There you have zero duty trade among countries and common tariff against rest of the world. Now what happens? There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 countries that together make a custom union. Now they say that we will make one policy, whatever good is coming to our country as a whole, these 5 countries, we will have a same structure, same custom duty. Whatever we will export, we will have same structure, and we 5 together will do any agreement with any other rest of the world or any other country. So this is customs union, union of some countries, and they have similar custom rules. One step ahead comes your common market. What happens in common market? There is free movement of labor and capital and harmonized technical standards. Now basically in common market, your labor can freely move between these countries. Now these countries, they allow people to move freely among all the territory. Somebody can work in, let's say, one country on one day, he can work on another country next year, another country next year, or next month also. So free movement of labor and services is also there. And the highest form of integration is economic union, which is seen in the form of European Union. It is an economic union of multiple countries. It is the deepest level of integration. You have common economic policies and institutions. Clear? Here now, you just have administrative and legal rights is separate, but the economic policies are largely aligned together. All the countries, they together make their policies. What they have to export, what they have to import, how the movement of goods, services, people, IPR, everything will happen. This is the highest form of integration. What you have to remember here is the difference between all of them, their structure, what comes after one, their chronological order. You have to remember these things. First come PTA, then free trade agreement, then CEPA, then custom union, common market, and economic union. Clear? And this is the logical increase. The integration keeps on increasing with this. Clear? So right now India is having free trade agreement with most of the countries. We have free trade agreement with the UK recently done. We have free trade agreement with Australia. We are working on free trade agreement with the entire European Union and USA. Moving ahead, what can be the exam traps here? All FTAs, they eliminate tariff completely. Now this is wrong. They eliminate tariff on majority of the products, but not completely. Your preferential trade agreement and free trade agreement are the same. This is again wrong. They are different. Your customs union allow free labor movement. Now this is wrong. Free labor movement happens in common market. Common market. And economic union has no common policy. This is again wrong. Economic union is the highest form of integration. They have common policies. Then comes the most favored nation, means giving special treatment to one country only. Now most favored nation is a concept which is used within World Trade Organization. They say that if you are giving preference, special preference to one country, that should be also given to other countries. You cannot differentiate between different countries on the basis of simple trade and you give preference to just one country. So every country normally should be treated at par with each other. Clear? So with this, we come to end to today's discussion. Make sure you guys write answer and practice the quiz which is given in the end. And all the best for your exam. I'll see you again in the next discussion of Analyst. Thank you.